So now, here's our coverage of the national championship game. We're talking Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes. Indiana laying 7.5 points, over under 48.5. This game is on Monday night. Miami Gardens in Florida. Xander, why don't you tell us why Indiana is going to win this game?
Because they're showing up healthy and they will be in attendance for this game. That's really all you need to know. No. Yeah, man. We'll talk about both ways of paths to each of these teams getting it done and lifting the championship trophy. But I got to be honest, before we dive into any individual stats, you know what this game, it actually feels like the last time that a national championship game was held in Miami Gardens. Do you know what game that was?
Was it Clemson, Alabama?
No, it was Alabama. It was Alabama, Ohio State.
Oh,
2020.
right.
Yeah,
Mac
2020.
Jones.
Correct.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae, yep. Yeah. When I look at these two teams and compare them just with the eye test alone, that's what it seems like. It seems like, Miami is second or third best team in the country on a season where the first best team in the country is head and shoulders better than everyone else. That's just really what it comes down to. I feel like Miami's a very deserving opponent here. A couple of hiccups during the season doesn't define what this season will be for them, but everything that we've seen on the field with Indiana consistently get better, consistently execute in every aspect of the game has been impressive to watch. It's been surprising to watch. Mind you, there were 200-1 odds available on this team to win the national championship when we covered our preseason polls, and 60-1 to win the Big Ten was out there. And we're now talking about this team in the same breath as 2019 LSU. Wrap your head around that.
It's insane.
So a few stat factors that pop out. It's interesting. Miami plays a tighter game. Maybe we're lucky to escape Ole Miss. Back to their penalty ways, 10 penalties, 0 against Ohio State. This team is 10th most penalized team in the country. Indiana is the second least penalized team in the country.
Wow.
They're disciplined. A couple things that also stick out. Indiana, number 1 turnover margin in the country. Miami, 16th. To havoc-creating defenses versus two very efficient offenses. Carson Beck, up until last week, hadn't turned the ball over for, I believe, 5 weeks before that. Hadn't thrown an interception. So these teams will be hawking that ball, baby. Here's the one thing that really sticks out to me. Indiana wants to run the ball. They do. All these, Mendoza wins the Heisman. Some of the lowest passing numbers. Anyway, statistically on distance, passing yards. But they want to run the ball with Hemby, Mendoza on some design plays. Their running play percentage on the season, 61%. That was 15th most in the country. And the teams ahead of them are like your academy teams, Georgia Southerns, your very limited offenses. Indiana's number 1 team in the country. They're running it at 61% of the time. Miami, on average, faced teams that ran the ball 43% of the time. That D-line that has been heralded as the best D-line in the country, Mesidor and Bain, and rightfully so. I mean, these guys are studs, plug and play in the NFL tomorrow. They could be in for hands in the hips type situation here if Indiana is able to get the script that they want out of this game. Miami, I've noticed the last couple of weeks or last couple of rounds, I believe 4 out of the 6 drives, when you combine the first 6 drives of Ole Miss and Ohio State, have been 3 and outs. They've been able to get ahead in the game when it comes to control. And that Ohio State game 0-0 because of a red zone fumble by Miami. But at one point, I think it was like 15 minutes to 3 time of possession in that Ohio State game. A similar situation with Ole Miss, and Ole Miss bangs on a long touchdown run. So still able to dominate time of possession, even giving up a score. When it comes to the quarterbacks, you're going to rely on them. Second and third behind stand, completion percentage. Offenses, Indiana's third highest scoring in 40 a game, but Miami is the 5th highest scoring defense, 14 points a game. Indiana number 2 at 12 points a game.
Yep.
So it's a bend don't break situation here. What is going to break? We look at areas. Indiana is first in the nation, third down conversion percentage at 57%.
Wow.
Could they have found their potential what is it? Achilles heel? Because Miami's 10th in the country, only allowing 31% conversion. That's going to be a big factor in winning this game, is getting off the field. And Indiana's right there with them at 31% as well, at 9th in the country. So those are some big factors. And then when we look at any EPA advantage, explosiveness is the biggest problem for Miami. They had 5 explosive plays last week against Ole Miss, but Ole Miss's defense is not even in the same solar system as what Indiana is going to be bringing to this game. So when I look at comparing these two teams and who's going to win, I see Indiana having the advantage in explosiveness, especially containing that stuff rate. Miami's not going to be able to run the way that they've been running the first 2 rounds. And Indiana leads in every category in EPA when they go head-to-head. Early downs, Indiana is going to keep you behind the chains. And then on offense, they're going to get ahead of the chains. They are going to allow the least amount of havoc, and they are going to bring the most efficient pass rush in the country on standard rushing downs. That 4-man rush that we talked about that really killed Oregon. Miami, when they get behind, we'll see what they have. Haven't been behind yet in the playoffs. They've been in these nail-biting situations, so they have been tested. But at the end of the day, Indiana checks every box. And on top of that, these are all grown men that understand where they're at and understand the maturity levels of what it takes to show up and win games versus expecting to win games. I think this is another. It's weird that it's the same spread as last season, national championship. I think we look at the makeup of the teams of just NFL caliber players. Miami has those defensive linemen, but outside of that, some offensive linemen, but it's like Carson Beck, Malachi Tony, true freshman. We'll see how he pans out. It's like Indiana just has a ton of guys that will be playing on Sundays built from the Signetti factory. So that's how Indiana wins, is they show up and execute like they have every single week.
Yeah, really good breakdown by you. Thank you for that. I expect Indiana to win and cover in this game. I mean, we're talking about a team that steamrolled just about everybody in the regular season outside of early game against Iowa in Iowa City that they had to pull out, and a close one against Penn State. But, They beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and then obviously in the playoffs, they beat Alabama 38-3. Sheesh. And then they follow that performance up with a 56-22 win against Oregon, a really good team. So you got a squad firing on all cylinders at the moment, and they have the Heisman winner. Cignetti is the hottest coach, in college football, and this team is rolling. And Miami has had a very outstanding season, and they deserve to be here. Like you said, they beat Texas A&M on the road. Then they beat Ohio State, and then they beat Ole Miss. Really, really, really impressive run by the Hurricanes. If Miami is going to pull the upset in this one, playing this game at their home stadium at the Hard Rock, this game, to me, feels like it needs to be a lot like the Big Ten championship game, where Miami muddies this thing up. Their defensive line is really able to go blow for blow against that Indiana offensive line and contain the run and maybe be disruptive with their pass rush, possibly get to Mendoza a couple times, maybe tackle him when he's trying to scramble for a first down, force a couple turnovers, protect the ball on their side, and win the special teams battle. I don't think Miami is going to be winning this game 31-27. That's the same score that they beat Ole Miss by. That game was more of a up and down the field, both sides moving the ball pretty efficiently after a slower start to the game. This game, to me, if Miami has a shot to win, you're playing ball control. You're not turning the ball over. Your defense has to show up. Your defense absolutely has to show up. And you muddy this game up. And you win a game like 20-17 or 17-13 or 13-10. Something like that, I think, is the recipe for Miami in this game. I think the problem is they're playing an Indiana team that's just so damn good right now. I don't know what else they need to do to convince you if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, I don't know, I like Miami. What does Indiana have to do more to show you just how well they're playing at the moment? And I don't know if this was due to Ole Miss's offensive tackles, the plan of attack, Chambliss just being very good, but it's not just me. We really didn't hear or see Mesidor and Bain wreck that game last week whatsoever.
No. I mean, the way that everything was designed, they were like getting the ball out in the flat, and like the ball was out in under 3 seconds every single play, it seemed like.
Yeah. So that's kind of the recipe that I see for Miami if they have a shot at pulling off the upset. But overall, I like Indiana in this game. And are we giving final score predictions?
Yeah. I just point out a few things why I think Miami can win. Other notes: these two teams are both top 5 in first half opponents' points per game allowed in the first half. Mm-hmm. Indiana at 6, just under 6. Miami just above 4.
So play the first half under.
First half under, maybe. Could be a play. Yeah, so I agree on a lot of your points. I think also something that needs to be said is that Carson Beck is also a grown man. 7th year. It's been pretty viral going around. And he can play to the level of putting them in a position to win. A few things that Miami will really thrive at is offensive line and route running on just these shifty wide receivers that they have. It's something that Indiana really hasn't seen all season when it comes to the wideouts that they are defending. Ohio State brings a different type of wideout when you line up against them. So I have to wonder, too, in preparation, Carson Beck has been on the sidelines for 2 national championships. Obviously contributed nothing. Those are both Stetson Bennett championships, but he was there. He was in the building, saw the preparation, saw what it took to be a national champion, has 2 rings on the team. So I do have to wonder if that experience will help in getting prep for this game. That is something that does concern me. This Miami team has been written off all season. They are going to be able to create havoc if they're able to create havoc. Mendoza has turned the ball over in big games. We've highlighted that up until the Alabama game and last week against Oregon. Every big game before that, he had at least 1 interception. Penn State, Iowa, other Oregon, the road to Oregon game, Ohio State, Big Ten championship. So Mendoza isn't a perfect quarterback that can't be turned over. So I think if Miami's going to win this, I actually kind of disagree with you. I do think they'll have to win a shootout just because I think Indiana's so overwhelming that they're just going to get their points. I feel like if you shut Indiana down, shutting them down would be 24 points, 21 points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to be like a lay an egg situation. So Miami can win. They need to pressure the quarterback. They need to turn the ball over. And then they need Carson Beck to air it out. He can't settle. He can't shell up. He's got to play like he did against Ole Miss and just let a couple fly. Because I have a feeling that this run game is not going to be as productive as it has been in the first couple rounds.
Yeah, I think you're right going up against that Indiana defense. And yeah, Carson's just got to let his nuts hang.
Absolutely.
All right. He's got to get one of the Cavender twins back, dude.
Oh, Jesus. He's already in a dangerous situation, if you catch my drift. Go ahead and Google that, significant other of Carson Beck, and you'll understand.
There you go.
Predictions, final score predictions.
Yeah, gladly. I'm going to say Indiana 34, Miami 10.
Wow. 24 points, huh?
That's how I feel.
Interesting. I'm not too far off. I think, like I said off the top, this really screams to me Alabama, Ohio State. Just first and second best teams are just that far apart this season. I think Indiana's 45. I think Miami 21.
Yeah.
And I think those 21 are. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 45-7 at some point and just kind of fighting for some pride.
Yeah, if we somehow have a Miami fan listening to this and they win, that'd be a great clip. I could see it being 45-7.
Yeah, I mean, we lucked out last week. We were on the same sides. I thought for sure we were going Oppo there. So that's how good this Indiana team is. Even we couldn't take them down last week in both agreeing.
Took me a minute to get here, though, because in that Big Ten championship game, I think Ohio State was laying 3.5 at close, and I just remember looking at that line, thinking to myself, what am I missing? Ohio State's going to cover this number for sure.
Yeah, and we were missing it all. They were holding back this unbelievable muscle car in a suburban garage that no one else on the block has ever seen before.
And that would be the entire team. The entire team was the muscle car.
Correct. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm excited. It's nice to have some new teams in the championship and just kind of in these final rounds of the playoffs overall. But it's really all I got for you. Anything else we need to cover?
Yeah, and just for our thanks for tuning in to the preview of the national championship. Please like and subscribe if you could, and check out the rest of our video covering the lead up to championship week. And we will also be back next week recapping the game, recapping the season, talking about future plans. So thank you for checking us out. Boom.
Thank you.